everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Saffas Abroad Rugby podcast. And I'm super excited to have Simon Kerrod as my first guest. Simon, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, man. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, man. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, like I said to you earlier, we're going to chat a bit, obviously, about rugby or your life in the game, and and we'll see how we go from there. It is my first episode, so if anybody has any feedback after this, please just let me know. And yeah, it should be good though. But I mean, like most podcasts, like most interviews, why don't you just give us all a quick bit about your background and, where you come from and how you got to this point today?
Cool, no problem. Yeah, no, I come from South Africa. Obviously, I went to school at Pretoria Boys High. Then I went to the Sharks Academy for a bit, and then I went to the Kings after that. And the Kings obviously didn't work out with like financially and all the troubles that happened there. So my dad was born in England, so I had a British passport growing up, and I always wanted to come across, and it was always a dream of mine to come and play in the Premiership. So then I moved at the end of 2015, January 2016. I signed at Jersey. I played at Jersey Reds for a year and a half. Then I signed at Worcester. I was at Worcester for 2 years, and then I signed at Harlequins. And yeah, now I'm at Harlequins, and I'm loving it here.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a bit about that move from Worcester to the Quins, because I think, at that time, Quins were in a very good position. Worcester, not so much. Yeah. As a player and as a person transitioning from one team to another, how did that make you feel at the time? What sort of mindset did you have transitioning from a team sort of quite clearly struggling and one that's sort of on the up?
Yeah, look, it was a massive challenge for me because coming here, there was a lot of, there's obviously Carl Sinclair was here and Will Collier, both of which are international props. But I always wanted to be at to get the opportunity to come and play for Quins, such a steeped in tradition, like an old club. Everyone knows who Harlequins are. And it was just something I could never pass up. And I was, when I signed, I was so ecstatic and happy, and I still am. To be part of Quins. It's been the best move of my career. And my rugby has just improved so much since I came down here. You got Adam Jones as scrum coach. Jerry Flannery is now running the line also. And at the time, Gazi was here. So it was a lot of good quality coaching staff that was here and is still here. So no, it was a huge move. I knew it would be hard, but it's definitely paid off well.
So, I mean, you are approaching 40 games or something now for Quins. And you've sort of touched on how your life has been at the club. And how can you compare that to some of the other clubs that you've been at? What has quite clearly been very obvious and what is incomparable to other clubs? What's the first thing that struck you?
I'd say it's just like, it's got to be just Harlequins is just, like I said, it's one of the oldest rugby clubs in the world, and that's one thing that definitely was, a massive drawing factor. You look at the history of the club and the trophies it's won and all the players it has, and it's a massive factor when you look at the club you want and where it's going. What the goals of the club are. But no, I'd say that in the Premiership, at Worcester as well, it was a very professional setup. So in terms of the setups, I'd say, the setups are pretty similar.
You eventually get the call up from Eddie Jones. I mean, that must have been a monumental moment for you and your family, I'm sure. But I mean, if you can you tell us a bit about that conversation? Where were you at the time? What were you doing? And how did it change your sort of attitude towards your own game and what you felt you needed to do to sort of really prove that call up?
Yeah, look, coming out of lockdown, it was quite tough, obviously, for everyone in the world at that time. And, it still has been now. But I just try to put my mind to my rugby, especially in lockdown, just carry on, keeping fit and keeping motivated. And then when we came out, I had a good couple of games and the last, even just before lockdown, I was kind of hitting my stride at the club. So there was murmurings, and I was kind of like, I heard a couple of things here and there, but I was just more focused on playing well for Quins. And then, when I did get a call or a message one night, I was like, just really surprised and taken aback. It was really cool to get that recognition. But now I just need to continue pushing for that recognition again, and hopefully break into the team.
Quins themselves, also like a couple of the other clubs, there's a huge Saffas presence within the team. I mean, how important was that for you when you first get to the club, and what sort of impact does that have on you on the field, in the training room, outside of rugby life? How has that been for you and your family?
Yeah, it was cool. Like when I signed here initially from Worcester, I saw Levis had signed as well, and I played with him. Back in the day, we also, at school, we were in like one of those Boki weeks together. So like I've known him since way back in the day. So it was nice to see a friendly face that I knew, because whenever you sign at places, you're always going from a team where you know everyone into an environment where you don't really know that many people. So when there was a friendly face, it was quite cool. And then it's nice to have Andre here as well, because like I also played with him and Levis at under 90 level, under 21 level. So like another friendly face, and then Wilco's here and Jordan. So no, there's a good culture, and like obviously those boys, when they come in, and there's a couple of us here, then they fit in quicker. And the English boys all love a braai anyway, so like they love that culture as well. So it's pretty good having them around.
It's funny you say that. I'm laughing because one of my next questions is I've literally got here. So who braais the best out of all of you?
I think probably Wilco. But no, like we all like cooking, braais, and so like I said, the English guys, Boulders, Scott Baldwin, he loves a barbecue as well. So like he's pretty good at and he gets his nice tomahawk steaks. So he also loves the meat.
Now, when you're not, focused on one of the most important things in your life, which is the game, what do you like to sort of do to cool down and chill out? What are some of your hobbies and your side projects, if I may?
I like to draw. I like to be creative, so I do a bit of drawing and do a bit of graphic design. Trying to, get things. Obviously, it's important to have a switch off, like you say, things away from rugby. Play with my dog, all that stuff. But no, graphic designing is quite important to me. I enjoy it. It's an outlet for me. And then just normal things like taking the dog and the wife for a walk with the baby and all that stuff. That's good to switch off. I like to, back in SA, I like to ride motorbikes as well.
Okay.
But there's not as much space there, so haven't got around to that yet.
Cool, man. And I do hear you're a bit of a chef. You just mentioned some of the cooking now. I mean, what are some of your favorites to cook in the kitchen?
No, definitely hamburgers. That's my best. That's my go-to. I absolutely love it. I love making a patty and just making, a massive burger. That's like definitely the best. And then second, probably like steak. I like making chicken as well.
Okay.
Generally, a lot of anything with meat, I'm good.
So typical, Southern African for sure. Now, let's sort of move on to like what can we expect next from you in terms of what do you see now for Quins, and what sort of direction, again, if you are able to say, what sort of direction have the boys been told to look forward to now, and what's up next for Quins? Because I mean, you're in a very great position at the moment this season. We're halfway through now, and where do you guys seeing yourselves at the end of the season?
Well, we just need, like, we're going really well at the moment. I think we don't need to like overcomplicate things too much. Just need to continue to do what we've been doing, and getting better each week is critical, because it's a very tight. The Premiership is so tight, man. You have a couple of off games, and then you find yourself mid-table, bottom table. So I think for us, it's just about being consistently improving and just keeping an eye on the prize like we have been doing. It's it's not too complicated when you get that right. So I think it's important for us to just carry on working hard for each other. I think we've got a good bunch of boys at the moment, and we're all buying into working hard for each other and getting better. So no, it's a really, really positive place to be. Yeah, well, coming from boys, I looked at John Smith. He was a massive inspiration. And then I remember in 2007 when there was these Puma adverts in the SA Rugby magazine. And I saw there were two pictures. There was one of Shabal and one of Alassana Tuilangi, and they just looked like absolute beasts. And I remember looking at those pictures and being like, that's when I think the rugby like I'd obviously played rugby up until that point, but I think that's when it got quite serious for me. Like I was like, okay, no, this is something I really want to like go for. And then we won that World Cup. Well, South Africa won that World Cup. You know, and that was also huge. And then now I looked up at Brian Mujati. He obviously came across. He was at Saints, and he absolutely was demolishing people. Yeah, man, I'd say Mujati, Smith, John Smith, and then the Tuilangis. They were, especially Henry, like they were just destroying everyone, man.
So it's quite clearly the physical aspect was what sort of initially inspired you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
I mean, well, you have to. I mean, if you're a tighthead prop, that's
of course. I mean, so who do you look forward to most going up against, and who can just be really sort of annoying for you when you go up against them? Again, if you're able to say.
No, yeah. I mean, when it's in terms of like tightheads, like obviously when there's people in the opposite team like Sink and John Afoa, they're very, very like talented props. You got some dangerous loose heads as well. You know, like Kuni is a challenge. Sometimes he's quite, you know, aggressive and all that stuff. So no, there's always, but pretty much every week in the Prem, you're gonna have like a big challenge at scrum time. There's always gonna be a very competitive battle there because it's such a fundamental part of the game.
And of course, that challenge and that, like you say, it's a big part of the game, and that's something that us as fans love to come and see at the stadium itself, you know. And how have you guys adapted, and what have you guys done to sort of make things a bit easier on yourselves and adapt to these new ways that we are all viewing rugby, that you guys are playing rugby with no fans?
Yeah, I think like I said before, like you got to play for each other. I think that's been a major part of us getting closer. And you know, it is tough, like you say, it's not playing in front of fans. So we do miss the crowds massively. Like it was nearly a year ago to the day that we had a crowd last year, and that was, you know, a big game for us because we beat Exeter at home, and I think it was Lammy's 250th, and it was a huge occasion. And just like appreciating that we had fans for that game is, you know, you look back sometimes, I wouldn't say take it for granted, but it's even more special looking back, having those games and remembering those games. So like for us, it's just about giving the fans still something to cheer about, even though they're not physically with us, so that when we do get crowds back, they'll be raring to come in and shout for us.
What do you think will be one of the first things you do when lockdown finally, you know, gives us a bit more freedom?
Go to a pub and have a burger. Fry as well. Invite
yeah, absolutely. Who's the person that sort of really carries you outside of rugby, and can you tell us a bit more about them?
Definitely my wife. You know, she came over from the start, from when I first moved over here. She's been through thick and thin. And she deals with me when I'm grumpy and like, you know, things aren't going well. And then, you know, she's been there to pick me up. And then when things are going really well, she's there to bring me back down to earth a little bit, like keep me level headed, which is very important. And then obviously like my dad and, you know, my family back home, chat to them quite a lot. But I'd say definitely the biggest support that I have is my wife.
I guess, yeah, I just wanted to add a bit more of a fun aspect to sort of towards the end of the interview. I know it went a lot quicker than I thought, but that's always a good thing. But sort of what, in a more sort of fun way now, sort of stepping away from rugby, you're talking about your graphic design. What about films and music and things? What sort of films and music are you into?
Sure. Yeah, music's also massive. I love music. I love a lot of different types of music. I'm quite, you know, diverse when it comes to music. I listen to a lot of, like, I can go from Rage Against the Machine, and then I can go to like Tupac, and then Deep House, a lot of Carl Watson, like, you know, I can spend, like, my missus sometimes, she's like, oh, you're flipping listening to music again, like, just all the time. You know, I like to make playlists. I like to, you know, but it's such a wide variety, like, of music that I love. But it's definitely a major part of who I am. And then in terms of movies, Again, man, like I'm I'm quite a big fan of Will Ferrell. Like he's really funny. I really enjoy him. And then also Denzel, like you go to those serious movies again, like Man on Fire, Inglourious Bastards. I love Tarantino movies. Yeah, but it's also pretty diverse. But I'd say like if I had to pick my favorite movie, yeah, I think I got to go for Inglourious Bastards. I got to go for it, man. It's just such a the amount of like I love Christoph Waltz in that movie. He's the like colonel.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah, just the way like he speaks so many different languages so fluently, and his portrayal of that colonel in that movie is just insane.
Well, it's great to have an understanding of who you are, or a little bit of an understanding of who you are, just sort of outside the game. And I mean, this was initially the whole idea of this podcast. I'm trying to work really hard on sort of exposing our talent abroad, and I've always felt that I wouldn't say my mission, but it's a big part of me to sort of help get the message across, because daily people are asking, how can I watch this game? Where is so-and-so playing, and I think that I'm on the right track. And I feel that with, all the support that we've been getting so far, and especially from you guys, the players, I know you've been a massive support of the page and also of me in general, but I mean, I genuinely can't thank you enough. I want to wish you the most incredible career, and I hope that you do well for the rest of the season. And when all of this is said and done, and we can get outside again, go back to games and enjoy what we love so much, I'm sure it's going to be great, and I'm sure we'll see each other again. And I genuinely just wanted to, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you. And yeah, just all the best, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry some of my answers are a bit short. I don't really have too much to say about stuff, but no, I really appreciate coming on, and I'm happy to be a part of it, bro.
Thank you so much, my man. And then I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon.
Definitely.